Episode 34. You
34,
ready?
yep.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Complete Game. I'm your host, Kurt Schilling, and this young man is my son, Garrick. What's up, G?
What's going on, everybody? How we doing?
Hey, I wanted to kick this one off. I want to talk about a couple different things, but I wanted you to explain, because I honestly am asking, I don't know. And for the fans to understand, how are the All-Star teams picked this year?
So we just finished phase one. I was looking this up before myself because I think
Phase
that's
one is fan voting.
on. Yeah. I'll explain
Okay.
the phases of it, but I because we want to talk more about the All-Star game on
Right.
Sunday. But
Right.
for those of you that don't understand, and that's many of us out there because it changes all the time with the All-Star game. It changed a lot during your career
Yeah.
too. But so phase one that just ended, fans voted for 8 infielders, 6 outfielders, and 2 DHs. That was like the first round of voting, and out of those,
That ended Thursday.
that ended Thursday, and out of those finalists, uh, the fans get to go back and vote to see who
So
will be the actual
and I
starters.
do understand some of the two top vote getter in each league automatically makes it.
Yeah,
Okay. And then everybody else goes back and it's the top two at each position
yeah.
are
So
viable in the second round of voting, which how does that work?
fans vote based on position. So when I
Right.
said 8 infielders, 6 outfielders, obviously two
Right.
first
Right.
basemen, two second basemen, two right fielders, et cetera, et cetera. But once you're through that phase and you're one of those two, you're on to phase two. You're locked onto the All-Star team, but the starting positions, like who will actually start in
Is
the
what
game,
round two is.
is round two.
Okay.
Yes. So top vote getters of those 16 positions will start in the game, and obviously the managers, Dave Roberts and Aaron Boone, can do what
Right.
they
And
will.
is somebody is was it did I see somebody a guest manager this year?
I didn't see that
Yeah,
yet.
there's a man. And I remember seeing the name, thinking it was very cool that he was doing that. But anyway, go ahead.
One thing I thought that was pretty interesting is pitchers and reserves are selected by the commissioner's office. I was wondering, like, what do you think that's about?
I think that's about injuries and pitching rotations.
Okay.
Like the what the commissioner's office should do, and I would imagine they will do, is they'll correspond with all the teams, and we won't have every year you see three or four guys the weeks before this guy's on the injured list replaced by so and so. They want to have more because usually what it was the last year that I made seven All-Star teams. It only says six, but the seventh one I turned down because I got called late in the process to be a replacement. Um, but they're doing that so they can have an established roster, and they're gonna want the pitchers to all be available as much as possible. And they're going to want the reserves to be guys that can play, and because they don't want to do six substitutions at the end because of just the craziness around that. So yeah, but I would hope and imagine those commissioner picks will be okay. These are all valid, legit. There won't be any argument about it.
You mentioned that you would have been to 7 All-Star games. Speaking of 7 All-Star games, you also mentioned the guys who get locked as the top vote getters. From both leagues, American and National, the top public vote getter is an automatic lock and starter. So obviously Otani and Judge in this
Right.
case. Judge, this will be a seventh All-Star game. So
Yeah, he's
just a
played what, 7 years?
freak of nature. Yeah, I think it's 9 years,
Yeah.
7 All-Star games. So
Yeah, no,
and
he's
then they're gonna have the full rosters out by the time we record on Sunday. So we'll discuss more of who we
yeah.
think should
On
start.
Sunday we'll go through it, and so I have a long history of complaining about certain things, and one of the things I always complain about is I'm always bothered by the All-Star game and the Hall of Fame vote announcements. The entire day centers around who didn't get picked, who didn't
Yeah.
get chosen, and I think it's a disservice to all the guys that make it.
Hmm.
Um, and for those of you wondering, the All-Star game early in your career, for me, this is speaking personal, and I don't imagine based on reactions it's different for a lot of guys that make a lot of times. It's an amazing experience. At the end of your career, not so amazing. It's amazing, and you always are proud of being picked. But as you move into your career, you start to realize that those off days are every bit as valuable as potentially the event itself. And uh, I had the honor and privilege of being elected 6 times. I started a couple times. I was asked to start another time and couldn't. Um, but I loved it. And it's funny too. If there's any young players listening out there that are getting to the All-Star game, I'll give you the advice I was given that made the experience completely different for me. So the first year I made it, 1997. I had a teammate tell me, here's what you do. You go on the first day you get there. So let's just say the game is Monday. You get there Saturday, Sunday events, but on the day you get there, you go to the clubhouse literally at sunrise because there is 14 million things to sign and autograph during the event. And what you get is as a player, you get a dozen hats, a dozen all-star hats of your team, and that's the currency. Players trade those hats, sign and trade those hats with other players. And then you can buy all-star baseballs. You buy boxes of them and you put them in the other locker room or your both locker rooms, and all the players sign them. So you get your all-star memorabilia. You get an all-star funny story. Sean Casey, who was if the Hall of Fame was about character, he would have been in and he would have been voted in by for 100%. But I just had the camera on you the whole time, buddy. So you've been on.
I know.
Yeah. But Sean Casey, so you get two jerseys at the well, you get more, but you get two to go, one to play in, and then one that they ask you to autograph and sell. They sell it for to raise money for charity. So Sean Casey autographed his game jersey and was on first base and wore it out on the field and actually took a Sharpie out to first base with him and had all the guys that got to first base sign his jersey while they were on first base. Which is just Sean Casey in a nutshell. But some great memories. Gehrig, my first in 2001, which to me was one of the most memorable with Ted Williams and everything.
99.
1990 at Fenway. Um, I brought Gehrig, and do you remember that?
I don't have as vivid a memory of
Right,
it, but I do remember feeling like uh this was different than every other time I got to go on the field.
right,
You know, that and
right,
as a 4-year-old kid, you had just been in Philly, you hadn't been in the playoffs in my life to that point yet, so
right.
it was definitely the most
Yeah,
like
yeah.
this is different.
True
Like
story. This is a true story, by the way.
you're too young to understand.
I collected when I played, signed bats, signed jerseys, and everything. And if you go back and look, massive interest around the home run derby. This was the height of the steroid era, and you had McGuire and Fenway, and it was just a crazy scene. I had Gehrig was on the field. He had his all the players with sons get uniforms for the boys, and he was wearing his uniform. He was shagging in the outfield. It was just heaven. And McGuire has one of the most historic rounds in the home run derby ever at Fenway. And halfway through the event, Garrett goes out, gives him some Gatorade, and McGuire ends up having a monster round, and he's walking off, and he realizes that he took the round of BP with a broken bat. Gehrig is standing there. Mac hands Gehrig his bat, and Gehrig goes, "Oh no, thank you. I already have one." Because you had gotten a signed Mark McGuire bat, and I was like,
And it was sticky.
"Oh yeah, I had pine tar all over it," and you were like, "No, I'm good," and I was like,
See, like
"Dude."
I have little like flash in the pan memories, like bits and pieces, but I was so young that like it just fades and blurs at
And I go
times.
back
But
in
yeah,
'97, my first All-Star game. I know you don't remember it, but you had a Phillies jersey on. You had Oakley's with the Phillies hat on.
there's a picture of it.
And one of my baseball cards is a picture of me pitching wiffle ball, throwing a wiffle ball to you in the outfield. And uh, you were just eating it up. And then you came in and Leslie Goodell interviewed you. And there's a picture in the Philadelphia papers the next day. Garrett standing there with his hands on his hips, like just doing a post-game presser. And he was just,
If
yeah,
I could form the sentences at the time, the picture screams I'm saying something like, we just need to get back out there and grind out at bats, win innings.
I feel good. I'm strong. I'm looking forward to the game. Blah blah blah.
Coach wants me back out there. I'll give it
Yeah.
all I have.
Oh
But
no.
I also another All-Star game headline I wanted to ask you about is did you see they're going back to wearing home and aways
Yes.
for specific teams?
Yeah.
Never should have done.
No, never should have gone away from it. I would argue. I'd like to see them go back to the '70s unis. Like I'd like to see them wear their home and aways, and have it be throwbacks like the to the old school, like this was like the year the whatever. But yes, and I've always thought that was the coolest thing
Yeah.
because you looked at the lineup out there, and some years you'd see the 2, 3, 4, and 5 hitters would all have the same uniform on because they'd be from the same team.
Yeah, that's another part of it that's cool too. And like right now we have the top two from every position, and like some of that is it is cool that at some point in the outfield we could have two Cubs or two Dodgers for the National League.
Yeah.
Like that stuff is awesome. Like
Well,
when
there
that
were years
happens.
I remember, and you guys can check me on this. There were years where I think the entire Dodgers starting infield started. There were years where the entire outfield was a team. I might have been the
I
Rockies.
mean, the years that you were in the All-Star game, how many times did Manny and David hit exactly where they hit in your lineup?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
just
yeah.
that speaks volumes
Right.
to the
Well,
team.
and it's I can tell you this, it's still, I think, pound for pound, far and away the best all-star game in professional sports. It's the only one you can't play at less than max effort. You have to play the game. You can't throw softer. You can't swing softer. You can't, maybe different approaches and all the things go with that. But everything happening on the field, excuse me, is happening at the same speed and the same pace that it happens in the regular season. Unlike flag football or the hockey all-star game where nobody plays defense or the NBA all-star game, which, well,
Celebrity All-Star game.
whatever. Yeah. Yeah, that started to become a thing. And that was one of those things. I was always annoyed. I was always annoyed when people are allowed to stand on the field I worked my ass off to get on. That like celebrity. And I get it. It's a stupid
I
nitpick.
always thought they should have it should be celebrities, but not like actors and musicians. It should be guys from other sports
Okay.
that think they're
Right.
like I think Shaq did like let me see if I can beat you in this type show.
Right.
Like I love that. I
Yeah.
would love to see hockey players, in the off
Right.
season say like imagine 20 of the greatest hockey players who are unbelievable on knives on ice come out and try and play baseball for the
Right.
first time in their life. They're freak athletes,
Well,
but
it's funny to watch.
some guys that would pick it up right away.
Well,
It'd be awesome.
Brady was an elite
College
baseball
baseball player. He got
prospect.
drafted by the Expos as a
Right.
catcher.
And he took BP at Fenway and hit a couple bombs.
Yep.
But there are other guys who come and it's hilarious.
They look like
And it's
Bambi.
usually hockey players.
Yeah.
They just, I mean, they've got all the strength in the world, so when they make contact, they crush it.
Mhm.
But and then and then I'll tell you the other thing that I loved, and I would love to see. Jenny Finch came down to spring training in Arizona one
That would
time
be cool. That'd be fun.
and threw, and Bonds refused to get in. Or no, A-Rod refused to face her, but she faced Gonzo the year and he didn't sniff a bit, and Barry was like, "No."
Or like the NBA, like someone like a Jenny Fitch for the it'd be awesome if they had like they just put up at some point on the screen they had someone that was at the All-Star games tweet at Caitlin Clark and Caitlin Clark came out to play one-on-one at halftime of the
Right,
All-Star game. Something like that. Like
right,
you
right,
got to bring some sort of oh my God, we didn't know this was going to happen.
right,
So something to make people want to watch the All-Star game because the home run derby doesn't do it like it used to.
right,
They don't have it. That setup is not what it used to be.
right,
And it's like you're saying, like the guys play, they can't play at a different speed in
right,
baseball, but there is something about it that's just not the same way that when you were playing, it felt like guys were still wanted to win the All-Star
right,
game at
right,
times.
right. You know what? I'm gonna go off the beaten path, and we always talk and stay on baseball, but I want to ask you what your thoughts are about Caitlin Clark in the WNBA and what's happening. Do you have thoughts about it or no?
About
Just about the way the whole league is handling all of this, with her being the biggest star by a landslide in the history of the game and bringing revenue to the game, unheard of revenue, popularity, and it feels like they're doing everything they can do to just nullify her.
I don't really follow the WNBA, if
Right.
I'm being honest.
Yeah.
So I'm
No,
not gonna pretend like I have a strong opinion on Caitlin.
right. No, I just have
I was just suggesting that as a
no, I'm
fanfare.
it's a fascinating topic, and it is. I mean, because athletes from all sports are weighing on it. Larry Bird weighed in on it 2 weeks ago, and the room went silent. He's all about Caitlin Clark, saying, I was the same guy. I came into the sport and I was a white guy, and
I'll say I've seen more WNBA clips than I've ever seen in my life. That's all you
I'm
really
happy
need to
for him.
know.
I'm happy for him. So anyway, yeah. So we'll go over the All-Star game on Sunday. We'll talk about the rosters.
Can I also shout out a guy? I wanted to get his name before the show, but Ryan Pepio, I think you said for
Pete,
the Rays.
IoT of the Rays.
Yeah, he's pitching right now actually against the Orioles. Uh, but I just wanted to shout him out because he has been as good as anyone other than Scooble and Skeen named Scooble or Skeens in the last month since May 25th. He's 3-1 with 28 and a third pitch, 7 earned runs, 44 strikeouts, 10 walks, 20 hits, no home runs. And just on a team in the AL East right now, which is so middle of the pack,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to win or walk away with it. That it's one of those performances that can really go under the radar for a guy who's 5-6 right now.
Right.
You know, nothing about his numbers jump off the
Right.
page, but I love giving guys like that
Yep.
shine when they're going through a
Well,
little
that's
bit of
like
a
Bubik for Bubik. I don't know how you pronounce it for Kansas City. Bubic.
yeah.
Having a monster year. And I got to tell you, I've never seen a Yankee pitcher pitch better with less fanfare than Max Fried.
Yeah.
He's having a monster season.
Yeah.
And I mean, rightly so. Scooble and Skeens are getting all the headlines because they throw hard, right?
Yep.
It's part of the fascination with the game these days. Scooble, they're both deserving of it. And I think, yeah, when you talk about the pitching stuff in the commissioner's office, they're going to try and steer it so he starts the All-Star game. I don't know
Oh
how.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Fried,
Skeens.
you think? Oh,
Skeens.
Skeens, yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, it's speaking of Skeens and being the face of pitching in baseball. Our new boy Jacob Miserowski outdueled him on
Give me
Tuesday, I
the
think.
line scores from that game for those two.
Miserowski went 5, gave up 2 hits, 2 walks, had 8 Ks, no earned runs, and then Skeens went 4, gave up 4 on 4 hits, had 2 walks and 4 punch outs. So
Yeah, see, it's hard for me. They threw a total of 9 innings.
yeah, I think they both threw around 90 something pitching
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
not a
Well,
overwhelming work day,
yeah,
but.
you throw, yeah, and
Miserowski threw 15 pitches over 100 miles an hour though. So
yeah,
I mean, he was
yeah,
going after everything.
yeah,
So
yeah,
if he knew he was on a 90 whatever pitch count, then good for him for
yeah.
getting every pitch, every
Well,
bit out of every pitch.
and again on Skeens, I mean, he's one of the guys that I keep pointing out. I don't that physically, I'm not sure it's possible at that effort level to maintain that. I hope he is, but I said 400 innings. That was my number. I think I based on my understanding of pitching and physical mechanics and the kinetic chain and all things go with that. I just don't see how that holds up. And I hate that I think like that. And I hope I'm wrong. But if it does, it'll be a freak thing. So
I mean, we've had so many of these guys over the last like decade who, since like Tim Lincecum pretty much, who, okay, this guy's like the next him, the next, uh, whoever you want to, Bumgarner, Scherzer.
like Kerry Wood,
Yeah.
Mark Pryor. I mean, you can just what's his name for
But
Strasburg?
they seem to come and go much quicker. Yeah, the Strasburg
that's
era.
exactly right.
Since
No,
then.
yep. And that's why they're coming and going for that reason alone, which is why I'm seriously contemplating getting back into the game in some fashion, just to get into an organization and gut it and fix it from a pitching perspective, because I don't see anybody with the ground up approach from scouting to drafting to developing that has all the pieces in place. And, I think there's a place out there to put, you give me 5 years, I could build a monumentally talented big league staff and put a foundation in place that would last for decades from a pitching perspective.
I mean, how many hypothetical teams have you taken to the World Series in GM franchise mode of these?
Right.
That you don't play where you don't
Right.
play the actual baseball game.
And I
You
don't
just watch
spend-
numbers
right.
go
And you
by
don't
on a screen.
spend other people's money.
Yeah. Watch
right.
numbers go by on a screen.
Right. But
W.
it is not after the initial out. Like I've talked about the Rockies. The Rockies are never going to outspend the Dodgers. The Padres are not going to outspend the Diamondback, which is fine. You don't have to. You have to out scout, out draft, and out develop these people. And it starts with a philosophy that's from the top down, everybody's bought in on. And you don't go into an organization like you walk into Colorado tomorrow, you don't fire everybody. There's really good baseball people in there. It's very clear that based on where they are, those people aren't being listened to. And they're not being heard. And that's how you get where they are. And what's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing
Over and over.
and expecting a different outcome. But I look around the sport and I see these kids. Like I said, we've talked about it, the draft. These guys are literally ranked by velocity because there are two or three kids that are going to go in the first round who I would not touch. And I hate to say, I'm not going to name names because this is the greatest time of these kids' lives, and it's an experience they're going to, But I would be in the draft room saying A, B, and C. Under no circumstances do we draft these guys because there's just no chance physically they're going to hold up. And the problem, and I think we said this before, when these young men are getting hurt, they're getting hurt and they're rehabbing and they're all out 12 to 18 months and they're coming back to the same cycle. Their mechanics aren't changed. The game is still the same. It's all about velocity and effort. And it's not conducive to keeping pitchers healthy, and it's costing the game billions, billions in injured list days. So guess your teammate, brother.
Absolutely.
All right. So we have a new game, by the way, guys. The new game, and he'll explain
We're
it.
we're not playing this one today, but
Okay.
we're doing guest teammate today.
Right. We're doing guess your
If you missed
teammate.
it last time, we do also have an additional game.
Right. All right. Guess my teammate.
We're doing guest your teammate today, though. We got 5 clues ranging from vague to most obvious. All right. Start with the most vague clue. A 12-year career. I spent 11 of my 12 years in the American League with 2 MLB franchises.
Pass.
Pass. I was at one point slated to play football and baseball in college before being drafted in the first round, ending my dual collegiate athletic career early.
Trot Nixon.
Trot Nixon. I had NC State in there, but I felt like that was going to give it away too much. But yeah, dual athlete, first round. Okay.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. I don't. Yeah.
Couple words about Trot.
So
did he earn the name Dirt Dog?
Right. He was the original.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that's sort of now like I mean, I've shown you videos of kids younger than me that don't know the bloody sock game. So like people think Dirt Dog is a pretty common baseball, like a baseball phrase,
Dirt Dog was a guy whose uniform was always filthy at the end of the game, even if they only pinch hit. And
I don't remember hearing it before we got to Boston.
Right. And he was.
And I was 11 years old growing up in your house. So
right. He was something. First of all, he was an amazing, phenomenal guy. And Trot, if you're listening, his wife was way cooler than he was. Awesome, awesome lady. God bless her, Catherine. But he was the guy who had we had a couple bench clearing brawls, and he was one of the guys I was always side eyeing to make sure I knew where he was because Trot had the ability to kill people with his bare hands. Just a phenomenal athlete. Played probably the hardest right field in professional baseball.
Was he a screw loose kind of guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get that vibe. I didn't know that, but
remember the documentary, the 30 for 30 about the Red Sox, 04 Red Sox. Do you remember in the Yankee Stadium, Trot's walking up the run and leans over the camera and goes, I hope it snows tonight.
Yeah, he's pointing the bats.
Yeah. That was Trot. Yeah. That was Trot. And I saw, unfortunately, the last time I saw him was at Dave McCarty's funeral. And yeah, Trot's still Trot. American loving, gun toting, hunting, redneck in every possible lovable way. So, all right, guys. Hey, if you're out there, listen, hit subscribe, and join us every Tuesday, Friday, Sunday. It's pretty much all baseball all the time.
We're gonna do All-Star Game talk on Sunday, but if you guys have anything else you want us to cover,
round over the All-Star Game. We read every question on YouTube, and if it's a good question or a normal question, we will absolutely answer it. So
thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for listening. Take care, guys.